Hi friends, Merry Christmas. This is Dean Thompson doing a little vlog on Christmas morning. It's been such a wonderful day today. Beautiful weather we're having here. It's not the same as growing up in Portland, Maine with 5 feet of snow on Christmas morning and enjoying that wonderful twinkling lights at nighttime through the icicles on the eaves of the homes and all that. But I'm having a wonderful time this Christmas. I'm so happy to have so many new friends and new acquaintances that I've met through YouTube and through my gaming. I mean, even my friends will go down to the local GameStop. One of my managers is a friend of mine. I'll visit with him for 15 minutes or so and talk. And I really love the gaming community locally and, of course, from afar. Now, I've lived up here in Sacramento for a few years, so I left everything I knew, all my friends, my car clubs, all my gaming buddies that I hung out with all the time, or down in southern, kind of down in the LA area, Orange County area, in the high desert of Southern California. So that was one of the reasons why I started the Escape to Gaming show. And many of you are, wondering, well, why Escape to Gaming? Well, as many of you know, and I've just started doing my Escape to Cinema series, and I'm just starting to showcase some of my collection of, DVDs and Blu-rays and VHS, which I'll get to originally. But I'm a huge fan of science fiction and John Carpenter. He did this wonderful Escape from New York movie, and then he did another one called Escape from LA, which is actually not bad as well. Not as good as the first one, but I love this film. I love the music in it. Austin White was nice enough to let me use. He did a wonderful cover with an electrical guitar and did his own variation of the theme, and he's been nice enough to let me use that music from my theme. And I love that. And I thought about, initially when I wanted to do a YouTube show, I had no idea what I was doing. I certainly didn't know what direction to go and all that, but I had many shows that I liked. I liked the production values on Classic Gamer and a lot of that. A lot of it's heavily scripted, and it makes for wonderful, concise reviews. But I wanted to do more kind of a vlog style deal. So where my background was in the movie industry and doing set painting and set designs, I just created my own little set, and it was a lot of fun. I actually made this little cutout sign here myself, kind of very similar to a lot of my car paintings that I do, where I contour cut out around the edge and I kind of pop them off the wall a little bit. And so I wanted to kind of have a cheerful, fun set and just a couple shelves of some of my favorite games behind me. And that kind of was where I knew visually what I wanted, but I still didn't really have a theme for quite a while. I didn't know what to call it. Just Dean Thompson's, gaming vlog. I didn't know what to call it. So I actually, just right before I started the show, a little over a year ago, I actually got on Blu-ray this, Escape from New York movie, and I went ahead and was watching it and really enjoyed it. I hadn't seen it in years. It was nice to see it on a pristine Blu-ray, and it brought back a lot of memories of my time growing up in the arcades in the late 70s to the early 80s transition, and how I went to the movies a lot and saw that film. I was actually the second person in line to buy a ticket to see that in Fresno, California, where I grew up as a kid. And had my first job at a little pizza place and all that. And it was kind of a fun film that kind of shaped my whole future. I kind of really loved science fiction. Not long after, you had wonderful films like The Terminator and other great sci-fi films and RoboCop and all that. So I've been a big fan of escapism, and typically through movies, but later as the games were getting more realistic and more sim-based. I mean, yeah, a lot of us like the Mario games and Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man I really like. I love Asteroids, Galaxian, games like that. I spent a tremendous amount of quarters in the arcades playing those games, and really enjoyed them. I played a lot of the older mechanical style games in the arcades, actually before the video games, which I've talked about in my growing up in the 70s little segment that I did, which I'm going to be editing into one show soon and redoing that. And I'm also going to be doing my time growing up in the 90s. That's really like the last big one in that series I wanted to do. I've done growing up in the 70s and the 80s so far. So again, the Escape to Gaming was something that as you get older and you take on more responsibility. When you grow up at home and Christmas morning, you have no responsibilities other than making your bed or cleaning your room and going to school and doing your homework and all that. It's like you live for summer vacation. You live for Christmas, morning when you can open that one or two gifts up or whatever it was, and it was magical. I didn't care how inexpensive it was. Usually it would be a little board game, Stratego, Payday, something like that I used to enjoy playing in the 70s. Risk, board games like that. I played a lot of board games, And video games were out of touch for me. My friends had Atari 2600s. Unfortunately, my parents, that was like an extravagance, and certainly wouldn't spend the money for it. And that's fine. I mean, you know, not all of us can grow up having everything that we want. But what it did do is it helped me to appreciate the few things that I have, to take care of those things. And then later, when I was fortunate enough in the late 80s, in 87, to get my first console, the Commodore 64, I really had a high level of appreciation for it and for the wonderful escapism through the games and the sims that they had. A lot of military sims, and Revs Plus, this wonderful driving game. It's really hard as nails. Formula One game that I used to play a lot, and I used to wear out the joysticks playing it. These were really fun games, fun ways to escape early on. And so it kept coming back to me when I wanted to start this show. I said, it keeps coming back to the word escapism. That really is my main reasons or impetus for why I game. I mean, as you get older, again, you leave the confines of growing up in that little bubble or that comfort zone at home, and where everything is taken care of, and later you're out in the big world, and sometimes gaming has to take a back seat, you know, movies and a lot of that. So you work real hard all week, and if you had enough bucks at the end of the week, maybe you'd see a new movie that Friday night, take your girlfriend out or your wife out or something, go out and see a nice film, go out to eat, stuff like that. So I liked going out. I like to go out and experience watching a two-dimensional film and then entering in and just letting, you know, basically letting it all in and enjoying it for what it is, almost like art. And that's what I loved about gaming, too, is that you'd sit down and it was just like you're entering a new world. It virtually is a form of escapism. Now, as a younger kid, I read a lot of books, and books to me were a delightful way to escape. I had this one tree I used to sit up, and then later I built a little treehouse platform. And I read lots of Jules Verne books and Edgar Allan Poe books, a lot of older books that kids wouldn't read today. But they were ways to escape, you know, and in the mind, and they were so real, the adventures. And that's kind of what I like about gaming. And after I stopped reading books, because today is just, I mean, who has the time? I love to read, but I just don't have the time. I kind of keep that to gaming magazines now, my Game Informer magazine or Electronic Gaming Monthly or something like that. Those I enjoy reading quite a bit. And it's nice to be able to escape, you know, through a book once in a while. But today it's pretty much because our time is so precious. Everyone's always in a hurry. It seems like you have to work twice as hard for half as much, and it's tough today. Even my daughter, I feel, you know, really bad for her and a lot of younger people in their early 20s that don't have a lot of the opportunities and can't make a difference and stand out the way we could have back in the 70s and 80s. Back then, before everything was online, you had to go in off the street and, you know, put your best foot forward and get that job and impress that boss. And either he liked you or he didn't, and maybe he'd even make room for you if he liked you. Quite often I get a call back a week or even a month later, hey Dean, you know, do you still want to work for us? We let someone go that wasn't working out because they liked you, you know. That's the advantage of growing up when I was a kid, is you had more of a one-on-one personal experience with people. And even going to the movies, you could just talk to people casually in line about the film, and people are kind of all plugged in their little worlds. You stand in line now, the movies, everyone's texting, they're on their Facebook, on their iPhones or whatever. So it's a different world that we live in. But the opportunities today just aren't there for whatever reason. It's a tough economic times, and I find that escapism is all the more important today as I get older. And it is for a lot of people. A lot of us are not real thrilled with the jobs that we have or the responsibilities that we have to contend with. And there's something about just watching a film or escaping to, you know, a wonderful game, whether it's a retro game or it's a newer game or one of your favorite go-to games. To me, that's what it's all about. It really is about the essence of escapism. Escaping into the mind. It's a one free place that you have that doesn't cost anything. So if you can enter that, you know, portal through a film or through a game, whether you paid $60 for a brand new game or you paid just a few bucks. In fact, later today we're going to go out to eat to have kind of a Christmas dinner. I made reservations at one of my favorite steak places, and right next to it is a GameStop. And I just discovered last night they had this new Air Conflicts Vietnam game that just came out. I actually heard Mark Bussler talking about it and forgot that it was coming out. And the price has been reduced down to like $20, $19.99 for a brand new game that typically would be $50 or $60, you know, coming out. So I've already kind of blown my wad with with all this money that I've spent on the PlayStation 4 and my 4 new PS4 games. So I was going to get Gran Turismo 6, but I've spent so much money, I'm going to wait a while on that. And again, I've got so many wonderful Forza games that I'm enjoying presently anyway. I can easily go back and play a few more races for several more hours on Forza 4, Forza Horizon, if I have it fixed for that sim racing. But I'm excited about this, Air Conflicts Vietnam. Very few films that deal, games that deal with the Vietnam era. And this has got some wonderful music from what I understand. I actually watched just a couple early reviews of it last night. It really looks good. And for $20, I said, that'll work out great. And I went through my GameStop rewards points, and I had like 15,000, 16,000 points. So I actually printed out, I've got a $5 off coupon, another $5 off coupon, so I'll be able to get this game for $5 or $6 or whatever. So I'm really excited about that, as if I need another game, but again, it's another way to escape. I love flying games, and a lot of the games that I had early on the Commodore 64, and even my Super NES, were F-15 Strike Eagle, a lot of these F-22 Stealth Fighter, a lot of these really cool games that were flight sims. Gunship on the C-64, it was also on the Amiga, and many other wonderful systems. Those games are so exciting, and you could kind of put on the helmet, military helmet, and go on a mission, and see if you can come back alive, This new Air Conflicts Vietnam, I think it also has helicopter missions as well, but it has a nice theme of the Vietnam era, wonderful music from that era, and I think some new music that's kind of in keeping with the 60s tunes that were so hip at the time. So I'm really excited about, again, just even though it's going to cost me just a few dollars, it's a huge adventure. I'd pay $60 for that game easily. Was shocked that it's so cheap. Probably isn't doing real well. And those kind of flight sims aren't really popular anymore. Even Assault Horizon you can get dirt cheap, and it's a lot like that one. Kind of an arcadey flight sim with kind of very arcadey controls, but again, nice realism, really cool missions, and all that. And just thinking about that film or that game last night got me remembering back of the 100-odd Commodore 64 games, and a lot of them were these wonderful micro-pro simulations from, again, Airborne Rangers and Silent Service. Tons of, I had Bomb Diver, quite a few, and then even little arcade games like 1942. I love flying sims. It was just one of many forms of escapism. I love my driving racing sims. That's a wonderful way to escape. Sometimes I'm too mentally tired when I come home, and just putting on Forza Horizon and just driving in the countryside. If I want to race someone, I can. If I don't want to, I don't have to. GTA 5 I've had so much fun with. Just putting that game in and just cruising around. All my characters, Trevor has his garage filled. He's got 4 killer cars, plus his other personal trailer out in the desert with all his other white trash. I've got a quad and some other things that's sitting out there you can ride. I got my 80s IROC Camaro in his garage out there. It's really cool. So sometimes I'll just go in and then jump into Trevor's character and just drive around with one of his cars and listen to my favorite radio stations. It's just it's a form of escapism, even without doing the missions. It's so cool. Michael has his own garage too. Got some really high-end cars in his garage. I even have a variation of my white Hemi truck that's actually in Trevor's garage, and it's all dialed in and ready to go. So I've got the turbocharger, and it's lowered. The windows are tinted. It's got a lot of the same kind of mods I actually have on my real truck. So it's fun. It's mindless escapism, and that's why I started this show. It's just to be able to take the time to talk about the games, and then later I said, I'll start doing some film things too. So eventually I'm going to be doing more of these escape to cinema little pieces. I'm going to have my top 20 favorite dramas, and I'll tell you why I like them. I'll tell you why you really should watch them. And I think you'd get a lot out of them, as I did. Now, everyone has different tastes, but I'm going to put out there what I like and why. And for many of you that maybe aren't hip or younger, you haven't seen a lot of these classic films, it'll give you a good overview of what's good in sci-fi, comedies, action, dramas, the whole deal. I have a wonderful, collection of DVDs through TV shows and TV series, and I'll be doing a thing on that as well. That's escapism. Lately, my wife and I have been enjoying, I'm kind of, I don't have cable TV, so a friend of mine said through a PM, Dean, if you like, this TV show, you ought to check out Boardwalk Empire. So we've been going through it through Netflix and They sent us a couple discs at a time, and we've been going through and watching Boardwalk Empire. It's a wonderful form of escapism. You get to go back in time to the 20s and see what it was like. You can do that, and watching that TV show reminded me of BioShock Infinite. Very similar theme with the boardwalk and the wonderful signage and graphics, and that kind of theme and costumes and attitudes at that time. So that's what makes gaming great. It's almost hand in hand with the movies. The difference is the gaming is kind of like an interactive film experience. That's what I really like about it, is you can enter into a game and just let the outside pressures go. You don't have to worry about car payments and bills. You have to worry about a lot of frustrations and just sink into a world of just wonder and escapism. And that's why I love gaming. That's why I love films. Even my cars for years, I can't afford the many cars that I used to have, but even my cars and car clubs is a form of escapism. There's a lot of love and time that you pour into those. And I bought many of the cars that were in famous car chase movies. I had the Chargers from Bullitt. I had the Mustang that was in Bullitt. I had a couple of the Challengers that were in Vanishing Point. And I used to build the cars and kind of enter into the escapism mindset of what it'd be like to be Kowalski in that 1971 movie Vanishing Point, driving that Challenger wide open, with that essence of freedom on the open road as it was back in the late 60s and early 70s. So daydreaming and escapism has always been a big thing for me. It's a wonderful way to get away from the drudgery of life, the frustrations of work, dealing with personalities at work, or if you have a business dealing with difficult customers, what have you. And quite often that's what gets me through it, is even though I have no games there, I have no handhelds, I'm not into the Android games and handheld games, but I will often think about and hang on to that thought of a game that I'm looking forward to playing that night. And even if it doesn't always happen, I get home at night, something takes over, I don't have the time, but it's okay. I enjoy the time of getting that gaming in when I can. And it means so much when I do now. So sometimes, even though I game less, the games are much more colorful. Playing The Last of Us has been a wonderful interactive experience. It's almost very cinematic, like watching a movie, but you can actually, decide how it goes. You can pick and choose the things that you think will make the missions. Either you can choose stealth or use more, upfront weapons. I like the abilities to choose in games. That's why I like open world games too. You can either follow the linear missions, or you can just kind of go about and do your own thing in your own time. Sometimes I'll play an open world game for 5 or 6 hours straight without doing any missions, just having a blast driving around. The Saboteur, I used to love just driving around, listening to the great radio stations in the old cars, and exploring areas, outside. And you can go swimming in the ocean, jumping off cliffs. Just so much fun. The same thing with the old GTA 3, Vice City. Flying the helicopters, taking the boats out. It's just a blast. To me, that's just a wonderful way to escape the present day headaches. So anyway, that's why I started the show. And that's why I think that even YouTube is a wonderful form of escapism. And in and of itself, sometimes I'm too tired to even play a game. I can put on a couple of my favorite friends' YouTube channels and watch their shows. Watch a little bit of their gameplay, and it's a blast. I sit there with a beer. It's my favorite thing at night, and just watch a wonderful rant that someone's doing, a delightful blog about retro gaming. It's so refreshing and so fun. And I get inspired because it's something that you're seeing the mind of a real gamer. You're seeing the mind of a real person, not just something that's massively produced, hundreds of millions of dollars like GTA 5. I mean, it's nice to see the behind-the-scenes people, and I follow some of those people on Twitter, some of these big gaming studios, and I certainly like seeing a lot of that, inside information. But YouTube is something that's very real, and again, whether it's in someone's room with an unmade bed, or if it's a very professional, heavily produced piece like on Classic Game Room, I enjoy the whole gambit of gaming, the whole spectrum of YouTube and everything that it offers. I get stuck, recently trying to figure out how to wire up my new cable component configuration so I can play these old PlayStation 1 and 2 games on my big flat screen. I can go on to YouTube. I found several videos that help me. I don't know whether these people, monetize your videos enough. I said, that's nice that someone thought ahead, took the time, got excited about it, and shared it with someone else. So I like the sharing aspect of YouTube, and that's why I did this. I don't have really no plans for this channel as far as the grow. I want 1,000, 10,000, subscribers or 7,000, whatever. It'd be nice, but I like it just growing at its own pace. I think YouTube is probably more difficult now to grow your channel than it was, 3 years ago. It's harder to get the exposure to get noticed, but I still do it because I enjoy doing it. And I know that, whether people watch this episode now or a year from now, hopefully there'll be something of value in it that people can derive some fun and enjoyment out of, or it can help them it'll resonate inside. Yeah, I agree with it, Dean. He makes a good point on that issue, and that's why I love doing these vlogs. I think it's important that we never lose sight of the things that are valuable in our life, and a lot of them are free. They all are in the arena of the mind and the arena of thought, and I think that that's very, very important as we get older in particular, where we can't do a lot of the physical things anymore, or we're restricted because we don't have the funds. Many of us are either out of work, or if you have your own business, work is slow, the economy hasn't picked back up yet. So I'm happy to make what I make. It takes me a lot longer to save money up now and to have the things that I like, but I find killer deals in my mom and pop store on used Blu-rays, DVDs, games. Many of these games, I've gotten probably half of them, through really good deals at mom and pop stores or special, bargain bins at GameStop, whatever. So it's a lot of fun. It's all under the whole array of escapism, and that's what Escape from Gaming. That's what my concept was early on. Is I just wanted to have my impressions and reflections of 35 years of gaming. The things that I liked early on, looking back at those old arcade games and the early, games like Pong and Asteroids and how cool they were, or these older gaming systems that I've never had, but I remember hearing about and seeing about in early gaming, like the Vectrex. And a lot of these, the Sega Master Drive system and the Dreamcast, and even the systems that I haven't actually had or even played, I've got to enjoy watching other people collect them, their pickup videos showing wonderful gameplay of these old Panasonic 3DO games, or old Sega games, or old Super NES games, many of them that I love. And I can't wait to get a Super NES and hook it up to my analog TV later this year. And I'll get a handful, a half a dozen of my old favorites for that system. Maybe a game or two that I always wanted back in the early 90s on the Super NES, but didn't have. So, and I'll show those and showcase those things as I get them through my vlogs or my show here. So what I'm going to do is this year I'm going to have some new vlog series where I'm just going to be me talking nonstop, and then I'll have some other ones which will be kind of more my typical shows where I'll show the whole set and talk and have an unboxing and impressions video or a game review or something like that. And then I'm going to have my Escape to Cinema as well, and I'll slowly introduce those over time. Hopefully they'll have some more views, but if they don't, that's okay. It's not everyone's cup of tea. This is more of a gaming-based YouTube channel, but I will certainly have a lot of those other things in there. Getting thirsty again. So, I'm really excited for the future, and I'm excited to see my friends' YouTube channels growing. I like to see the refinements that many other gamers are making with their own channels. They're finding ways to improvise and get through these difficult times with YouTube. I think time will tell. In a few months, we'll find new ways to record the gameplay. It really stinks that you can't have the cutscenes and a lot of that stuff. I could understand the music in GTA 5 and all that. It makes sense, but I think it's going a little too far where original soundtracks to games are getting flagged and stuff like that. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. We'll get through it. We'll find ways around it. And we'll continue in the fine tradition of escapism. We'll find ways to grow our YouTube channels and to share our gaming experiences with our friends on YouTube. I think it's really cool. And I like the full range of it. I love the retro stuff, but I'm almost a 50-50 gamer. I like a lot of the new stuff too. I like my PlayStation 4. I love my Xbox 360. But I also enjoy those memories of those arcades, the C64, the Super NES, and even the PS1. I love that. I mean, just putting this Twisted Metal and Road Rash in the other night was an absolute blast. It never gets old. It never gets tired. Of course, it's even nicer. I can sit on my couch and see it, and it looks razor sharp now, better than it actually did on my old 35-inch analog TV years ago. So I'm really excited about that, and that's what this show is about. That's what these vlogs are about. I just want to bring something of my personality and my experience of 35 years of gaming and living and growing up with the full range of it. I'm not a retro gamer per se. I'm certainly not a collector. I don't have near the collections of a lot of other gamers, but I'm someone that has collected those memories, the years of escapism that I enjoyed back in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, throughout the 2000s, and what I'm really enjoying now as we're getting into a whole new era of games. I don't know what the future is going to bring in the way of games and as far as collecting, but I'm just happy that I was there from the beginning, and I'll certainly be there to see a lot more gaming to come. So I hope you like these vlogs. I'm going to try to do more of them, and I get a whole list of new ones I'm going to do based on themes and questions and really interesting things that I'm going to posit that you'll be able to kind of think about and then interact with me on. I actually started, I went on the Google+. This is the third time I've tried it. This time it's working. I'm able to carry over my profile pic. I'm able to watch my videos again through my app on the Xbox 360 on YouTube. So it looks like everything is here to stay. So now I can interact with my fans again, which I'm really excited about. I missed that. There was a couple months where I didn't interact at all, and I felt really bad. So if you're my friends out there and you know who you are, I watch your videos. I give them a thumbs up because I can, and I really enjoy them. And I like to retweet, my friends' videos as well. It's a lot of fun. I love the gaming community, and I love gaming. It's all of it is in the arena of escapism, and it's all in the theater of the mind, and that's what Escape to Gaming is all about. So anyway, this is a Christmas day. Have a wonderful Christmas. Some of you may be seeing this video later. Have a wonderful New Year's. I'm so excited that we're entering a whole new year. We have tons of great games in 2014 to look forward to. That game Thief and Mad Max in particular. I'm even looking forward to that reboot of Tomb Raider. Or not a reboot, but they're going to have a remastered HD version for next gen. And I'm hoping to see that trend of taking some of these older games, maybe like GTA 5, and segueing them onto the next consoles to get even better graphics. So it's going to be really cool. A lot to look forward to, my friends. So thank you very much for watching. Thanks for your support very much. It really means a lot to me, and enjoy those games.